is Nan McKay, and we have a very special guest with us, Julianne Wutke, a vibrant aging expert and certified health coach who's passionate about helping women 50 and up look and feel ageless. After experiencing a personal health crisis and navigating through stressful life situations, Julianne embarked on a journey that not only transformed her own life, but inspired her to dedicate her life to helping others. And she wants to help people make positive, lasting changes. Her unique approach focuses on leveling up habits for good, making it feel effortless to finally make those changes that have been so elusive for all of us. She's the ultimate problem solver for those who come to her when nothing else seems to work. So let's dive into her journey, her approach to coaching, and get some actionable tips on how we can all make positive changes in our lives. So welcome, Julianne.
I thank you, Nan. Thank you for having me.
Julianne, can you start by telling us just a bit about your journey from being 50 pounds overweight, I can relate to that, and generally miserable, for becoming a vibrant aging expert and health coach?
Oh yeah, thank you, Nan. Yeah, a lot of people ask me why a health coach? What's that about? And really, I had struggled like a lot of us have with weight most of my life. Just 50, kind of losing and gaining the same 15 or 20 pounds. But I'll tell you what, right around the time I turned 50, a lot of things happened in my life. Number one, I was beginning to go through menopause. That was something, of course. And also, it was that time when the economy was just sort of melting down. So our family finances were in crisis. Of course, huge amount of stress with that. And we were already business owners, so a mom and pop business. And of course, there's a lot of stress with that. Our children were both in college at that time. And a lot of things going on, obvious, and my elder parents were not doing well. So my mom was showing signs of Alzheimer's. She actually had dementia, so I was trying to see her as much as possible. So you can imagine, just like with a lot of us, this whole soup of issues happening all at one time. So yeah, it was very easy to put on 50 extra pounds just by turning to food and alcohol and whatever, just to relieve some of the stress. And here I was in my early 50s finally, and I just realized that I felt old. That's all there was to it. I just felt old. My joints were achy. I had terrible inflammation. And I was thinking, is this it? Is this how it's going to be? Because I know a lot of people feel that way. They're like, oh my gosh, is this what getting older is all about? But I was just determined not to have that be the case. And so I really began instead of just, like a lot of us women, it's more of a vanity journey. We want to fit into that size of dress or those size of jeans, right? Or look good in the bathing suit, on our vacation or, whatever. But all of that just kind of went away when I realized that it was becoming more of a health issue for me. And I could almost see myself, in the next 10, 20, even 30 years. And if I didn't help myself then, what was going to happen? So anyway, that's how it all got started. I just began on my journey that way in earnest, not just out of vanity, not to fit into a certain size jeans, but because I needed to get better.
Have you also heard, because I've heard this so many times, that the high school class reunion
yeah.
is the thing that makes people want to lose weight?
Yeah. Or someone's wedding where you're going to see your ex.
Yeah.
You got to do the revenge dress, right? The revenge dress.
Well, I think you think, oh, those people will think I'm old. I don't look exactly like I did. And then you go to one of those reunions and it's like, nobody looks like
no one cares. No one looks like their photo.
Right. Well, how did you navigate the stressors of your life? As you said, if you turn to food and alcohol for relieving stress, like I know
Mhm.
I have done in the past, and probably still do, uh, and things like your elder parents needing help, which
Mhm.
you mentioned, and your family's financial crisis, then how did you navigate all that while trying to make positive changes for yourself?
Well, some of those things, I mean, some of the things were working themselves out eventually. With my folks, I just made a commitment to see them as often as I could. I couldn't be there all the time with them. They only lived about 2 hours away or so, so that wasn't too bad. And of course, my brothers and sisters were helpful, but there was that. I just tried to spend as much time as possible with them. So that's sort of, you just have to find how to deal with these separate issues. Our family finances, I just had to, it was almost like it's interesting when we go through these life changes, it's almost like we go through a grieving process, right? So when your business all of a sudden is, when it starts off being healthy and vibrant, and all of a sudden your family business that's paying your mortgage and sending your kids to school is not making any income or very little income, that's a loss. That's like an emotional loss. So, but that eventually we just kind of kept looking for new pathways. And that eventually sort of, began to work itself out, not in the way I would have hoped, but, things happen, right? So, anyway, but each separate issue that I was going through, you just have to find, it's like there's sort of a different journey for each one of them. As far as going through menopause, I didn't understand that a lot of what I was feeling was probably because of that. I did not know, I just thought, whatever. But then I just began educating myself. So that was really the main thing I was concerned about was how I was feeling, which was pretty awful. And I knew I couldn't be effective in any other part of my life unless I was feeling better, unless I was feeling like I was having more energy and the brain fog, could lift a little bit. And none of that really happens unless you start really taking good care of your health. And I just started reading books and listening to, and not so many podcasts, but there were different things I could listen to, different interviews from different wellness experts and thought leaders on the topic. And again, just educating myself and just slowly finding out different things and kind of, eventually I found the right system and that included accountability and information and support. But it was difficult. You just have to just take one step at a time and see what's working for you. But I think it's just being determined, that it happened.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to make a decision and then follow through. But it definitely, there's habits that we get into, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that you did at that point. You had been, those were some of those. Can you share some of the habits that you had to change
Oh,
to
everything.
look and feel ageless?
Yeah, not well. I said everything. That's not entirely true. Yeah, just the same things. I'm sure that most of us do. And number one was I just didn't make that connection that no matter what kind of over the years as an adult, I would do different diets and programs and throw money at different things, hoping that that was going to do it. Yeah, go, no, no, I've never done that before. I'll try that. Well, number one, don't get wrapped up in I know what's best for me. I know how to do this. I'm a smart person. I can figure this out. Okay, but that's only going to take you so far. At some point you need a little bit of help, somebody who's not you, who knows more. So there's that. But yeah, basically, just didn't realize that the reason that any of those other things I had tried to not just drop a few pounds, but to keep it off, that's the key, just to make it like this is who I am, is a habit change. And I didn't know that I was eating to de-stress and to like comfort from food. And as a reward, that's another big thing too. And using alcohol for the same thing. So that was a huge piece of it. And that one, I was dealing with it by myself. And then when I got into actually studying to be a health coach, then I found out so much more about the habit change coaching method. And really, you have to deal with what's in between your ears, if you ever want to make progress with anything. You can't have a lot of inner sabotaging conversations about things. Otherwise, almost nothing you do is going to work if you don't deal with that. So that's really what I help people with. And I had to do it for me first, even during my certification process. I was also a student. I was the initial guinea pig for, finding out about these things. So yeah, that was a big one, just eating for comfort for me personally, or rewarding myself. That was a big one. Also, one thing, this is a good one. This is something that people don't know. And this is one of the things I help people understand, that a lot of packaged and processed foods, which everyone's eating, even a pack of, healthy nuts from the convenience store, that can be problematic. But almost anything that comes in a package with a long list of ingredients, a lot of those ingredients are designed not for us, not for our own health and benefit, but to keep it fresh longer, and also to keep us eating it. Like it is not an accident that people sometimes eat an entire bag of potato chips while they're watching a movie, if you've got the whole bag there, because it's just tasty, and it's literally designed to keep you eating it, to satisfy those food cravings. Even though you may not be feeling well, you still keep eating this stuff. So a lot of the packaged and processed foods are, number one, not good at all for you. They're not designed for our health, regardless of what it says on the label. And also they're designed to keep us eating them, to keep us craving them. So it's, there's no accident there. And a lot of people just don't realize that. And they need help, though, stepping away from that stuff.
I have a question on things like, what about mashed cauliflower that comes down a package, or so many of these vegetables that are frozen? Are those still okay?
For the most part, yes, but it all depends. You need to just look at the label. I know there are a lot of like fresh frozen vegetables. Those are great. Those are picked at the peak of their ripeness, frozen immediately, packaged. And if you're reading the ingredients on the label and it says ingredients, green beans, that's okay. Ingredients, beans. But if you're reading ingredients on, I don't know, low calorie lasagna made by some well-known brand, and you can't even pronounce some of those ingredients, or you're not sure what they're doing in there. Like, why is there sugar in this? Why is there, potato starch and something I don't even know what that is, kind of a thing. Well, that may not be so great. And extra salt, extra this, extra that, a lot of things you don't need. So,
did you finally settle on a program that you used, or did you just try to do it by yourself?
Not a specific program. I tried out different things. I'll tell you what. Oh, I have the book here, but it's helping prop up my screen, so I'm not going to pull it out and show you. But a really breakthrough moment for me was as somebody who was raised with the thought of, I grew up in the 60s and we were taught that fat is bad fat, like take fat out of everything and then you're going to be okay. Not true. However, because there's a difference in fats. So I came across a book that the title of it was Eat Fat, Get Thin by Dr. Mark Hyman, a functional medicine practitioner. And I remember staring at that title. I don't know where I was seeing it on, wherever my Amazon account or something. And I was looking at this title thinking, okay, I have to read that because
Yeah.
part of
I
me
want
is,
that one.
yeah, my part of my brain. I was not believing it. Like I was all show me that. Like
Yeah.
tell me about that. And oh, the book was amazing. It basically started turning, and I realized, oh, there's a difference between this and that. Oh, maybe I do have the wrong idea about that. And then sugar as well. Sugar is, well, that's a whole nother story. We won't go there, but so many things. So that was one of the breakthroughs, and really just finding out bits and pieces of information like that were very helpful. um, did you have a different was there anything more specific that you wanted to know, like am I following a paleo or a vegan, or is that something that
Yeah,
you
or
wanted to?
Weight Watchers, or any of the, or some of them where you can order foods and that you just eat their foods, and anything like that. Did you just
Oh,
decide?
I tried them all.
Yeah, me too.
At one time, when I felt like years ago, before our financial, crisis, if you will, I actually had extra discretionary money, and which is something. I mean, I'm usually pretty, thrifty. Let's just say I was raised by thrifty people, so. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to try this food program. I won't mention the name, but I'm going to try this food program where they send you your meals every week and they pack it in dry ice and the whole thing. And this is before I knew much of anything about food. Anyway, so this lovely expensive box came, every week, and they packaged things. So the problem is that the whole eating, the food program was designed to mimic the way most Americans eat. There were desserts, there were snack bars, there were cookies, there were packaged dinners. Um, all these things came in boxes and packages. And of course, they would tell you, well, of course, you want to provide your own green leafy vegetables and your own occasional fresh fruit, you can do that, but mostly just eat our food. And I found myself, I mean, reverting back to my old bad habits. I was pretty much sugar addicted, which a lot of us are, highly sugar addicted. But I would eat all the snacky things first. I would eat the desserts. I'd eat those things would not last very long. And then eventually I'd get to the packaged foods. And so I couldn't even stick to that, even though it was very much, oh, eat this now, eat this now, eat this now. No, my addicted brain didn't follow any of that. It just went for the sweet stuff. And then I realized I couldn't believe I was blowing it on this expensive program. But it was really just because it wasn't really me. I was blaming myself. Like, who here does not blame themselves when their programs go wrong, right? We just think it's our willpower. I was so weak. I did something wrong. I'm not, but it's not. It's not that at all. The program, just by making all these extra sweet, packaged, processed things, it doesn't matter what the calorie content was. None of that matters if you're going to have sugar addicted people, or people who don't have a handle on the things that are making them eat or overeat. You give them a bunch of packaged food. What are they going to do? They're going to eat it, not in the right way.
I could just see you or me getting the box, rummaging quickly through the box to find the good stuff.
The good stuff.
Putting that over here. Say, oh, yeah, see, it's in the box.
Yeah, that's right. I can have this.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I've done all of that stuff, and that's sort of the problem is, if you don't address what is motivating you, what is making you overeat or keeping you addicted. And most people don't even know. They just blame themselves. It's like, oh well, I guess I'm doomed. It's in my genes. No.
Or, I get up every day and I say, all right, now today is really going to be a good day, and you're going to lose 2 pounds today, at least two. And by the end of the day, I'm like, I don't think I did very well. I'm glad there's another tomorrow.
Right. We set the high bar, but then we didn't do anything different to try to, and that's another thing I do with people is I actually even have, I think I'll include this in the show notes for you. Just like one thing, because people get caught up in, it's that New Year's resolution mentality.
Yeah.
Well, we think
Yeah.
we have to make all the changes right now, instant. No, that is no, that just almost never works because we are not little machines. We are humans. We are fallible, and we need to take it one step at a time. And it's really a kind of a cool try this today, and then tomorrow we'll try that, and you just kind of start incorporating you kind of a back to the habit change coaching method. It's a great idea to swap. I love swapping habits. And if there's anything our audience wants to take away from today, try just one thing different during the day. Like one of the things on the list is if you normally have, let's just say, a sweet snack in the middle of the afternoon, like if you're working in an office and you go to the candy machine or you pull the sweet, nutrition bar out of your drawer thinking that's going to be so awesome for you, try swapping that for something else. So, for example, if I'm pulling out the nutrition bar in the middle of the afternoon or having an extra cup of coffee or going to the barista and ordering some, foo-foo drink with lots of stuff in it, maybe swap that for something different, maybe fresh fruit and, raw nuts or something if you're craving something else or you want something crunchy. Bring something from home if you're working away from home or you're traveling in your car. If I'm on a trip where it's going to be longer than about an hour and a half, I have cut up stuff with me. I have maybe apples and carrots or something I can crunch on that I can just grab while I'm driving. I don't have to look at it, or an almond or two or something like that mixed in with it. I don't get to where I'm going and feel extremely hungry and think, oh boy, I'm going to eat the first thing I see now. That is, again, we don't want to set ourselves up for disaster. But anyway, habit swaps are good. If you know that you can replace that habit with that habit, so little things like that.
What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced in your journey to health and wellness?
Mostly what's between my ears. That was huge. And understanding how foods were, I should say, affecting me. So, for example, a biggie, I did not understand years ago that there are up to 70% of Americans are in some way sensitive to dairy, like cow milk, specifically. So, and by sensitive, I mean some have full blown. They cannot eat dairy. They are dairy intolerant. There's no way, and they already know this. And some people, it's just a mild sensitivity, perhaps. Like for myself, and I actually had my food sensitivities tested later on, but it clicked for me when I found this out that I am somewhat intolerant to cow's milk. And I was of the opinion that, eating the non-fat cottage cheese as if it were a food group by itself, I thought that was a good thing to do. That's how I got calcium and protein. I thought, oh no, this is great. And it doesn't have fat in it. Oh yeah, that must be it. That's great stuff. And so I'm eating that. I chose to have real cream in my coffee, a little bit of that instead of that artificial creamer, because I think a lot of us know that that's not the greatest. And so I thought I was making healthy changes, and yet I went to see a practitioner, at some point during that time, and she asked me. She said, "Do you eat a lot of dairy?" Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Do you drink coffee? Yeah, okay. She's asking me all these questions. I'm thinking, how does she know what I eat? And she says, well, you're really gassy. And I'm thinking, I'm thinking flatulence. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Oh, no, that's not what she meant. She meant I was actually bloated. So when I stopped with the dairy, um, a lot of things changed. I was able to button pants that I wasn't able to button before. I mean, it's pretty amazing when you kind of stop doing certain things. So that was huge, finding out what was working for me and what wasn't working for me, because everyone's pretty individualistic. There are some things that are true for almost every human, and then there are things that we find are more true for us as opposed to the next person. Maybe there are people out there who, oh yeah, they can have a piece of cheese or whatever, and they have no problem with it. I realize that I'm better off if I avoid it. That's just me. So yeah.
Well, how did finding the right system and support and accountability help you in making those lasting changes that we talked about?
Oh my gosh. Well, we can start with the right system is pretty much just by trying to get back to whole food. I think that's overall for everyone. I would say that is the overarching principle, trying to get back to food that is not packaged, not processed. That's a big one. And you could look it up if you're not sure what that means, but basically it's food that is recognizable and it's from its natural form. So you have an apple or you have apple juice. They're not the same thing, not at all. So better to have the apple than the apple juice. So that's just sort of one small example. So that's like the overarching thing. And when that started, just even making that small change is huge. And that was probably one of the biggest things for me. There's also an interesting component that I help my private coaching clients with. And we practice a lot of not just what we're eating, but how we're eating. For example, a lot of people don't understand this. They think we're just like little calorie counting machines. Oh, well, I didn't have that many calories today. I mean, why am I not dropping weight? Well, there's a whole hormonal component. So we don't want to eat when we're stressed. So for those of you who are eating at your desks, doing your email, answering emails on the phone, whatever it is, as you're eating your meal, think of not doing that anymore. I've had people who were having full-on acid reflux attacks during the day, and their doctor was recommending all these, medications for them that they'd have to stay on for life. And I was able to point out, okay, when you're eating your lunch, do it not at your desk, or at least close everything and put it away. But really, it is what you're eating, but it's also how. We want to slow down our eating, chew well. I know this sounds super simple and like kind of silly to talk about because it seems too simple, and yet it makes a huge difference. Eating when you're as relaxed as possible.
And just not concentrating on what you're doing, because you don't even think sometimes when you're eating. Mm-hmm. I find that in the morning, I'm great. At noon, I'm still okay. But boy, you get to be about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then it goes. Shoo.
Yeah.
And it's night eating. It's that relief of, okay, now you can power down. Mm-hmm. Now you can relax, and mm-hmm. That's. So, what's the philosophy behind your coaching? It must tie into that. And
sure.
And then, how does it differ from other health coaching programs?
Well, basically, we just look at, let's see, how do I put this? I guess I want to say holistic. I don't know if that's a very good word. Or functional, holistic. Those are words I would use. Habit change. Yeah. I mean, the habit change method. But I think probably the most important thing that separates me, that some people don't, because they think, some people, they're pretty sure I'm going to put them on a diet. And I assure them, no, so what we're trying to do is create new practices, new habits, new mindset for you, so that you can actually not have to be focused on food all the time. I know I'm speaking to a lot of people out there when I say, we think about food a lot, don't we? What am I going to have for the next meal? Am I hungry? Not hungry? What could or should I eat? We're thinking about food. However, when we get to a party or something, or it's a celebration, what are we supposed to do? Just like, oh, there's the cake. Can't have any of that. I shouldn't have that. Oh, Aunt Margie is putting her pie in front of my face. Am I insulting her if I don't have a bite of that? That's crazy making. So we want these changes, these healthy changes, these new ways of working with food, of appreciating our food, to be sustainable. So we don't want to suffer. No, there's no suffering. Food is meant to be enjoyed. So we're not going to suffer. We're not going to be feeling deprived. That is not sustainable. That's why a lot of diets don't work. We don't want to be focused on how much we're suffering. If I just hold on another week, then I'll be okay. No, that's not how we want to live our life. So we want to just make it part of who we are. So we can go from someone who's always thinking about food and thinking they've failed and they're not sure how they're going to get out of this thing because they can't not eat, right? So we want to go from someone who's in that kind of a state to who they are is they're not hyper focused on food. They're very relaxed about food. They just normally eat foods that, are healthy for them, that help them, sustain their energy. And they're not overly concerned about it. And if they have a cookie at the party, they're not going to beat themselves up for it. If they have an occasional glass of wine or two, they're not going to worry about it. That's, I think, where we're going, to be healthy, to be at a weight that we're comfortable with, to feel really good. And of course, all of this, you mentioned I was a vibrant aging coach. To me, that's really, maybe that's the vanity kicking in. I'm not really sure. But as I get older, I like it when people don't know how old I am.
Yeah. Well,
I'm okay with that. I know you're the same, man, right? That's why I initially interviewed you. I'm like, oh, really? Oh my God, I got to find out more about this lady. Anyway, but that's a big part of what we do.
Could you share some success stories of clients who came
sure.
when kind of nothing else seemed to work? And
yeah. As a matter of fact, there is one client who she travels a lot. She's a professional. She has her own company. She travels. And that was a big part of her issue. She's over 50, I think even getting closer to 60 now. And as a professional person who's the face of her company, who's going all over the world, she's, in her industry, she's working with a lot of, some women, but a lot of men. And of course, the thing when you're out at business functions, mixers, dinners, all of that, there's wine, there are desserts, there's rich food, and the men are all like, anyway, it was a little bit hard for her. And she was just feeling like she wasn't confident in her body. She's confident about her professional world, but as far as her appearance and how she looked in her clothes and how she felt and her energy, not so much. So yeah, we started working together, and she gradually was able to swap, like maybe have half a glass of wine for dinner, just so she can toast with whatever is going on, right? And at the mixer, just do a fancy, so she doesn't drink during the meet and greet, fancy sparkling, drink with a squeeze of lime and a straw. Nobody's going to ask you what the heck's in your glass. They don't care, but just little hacks like that. And also strength building and toning things that she could work on in her hotel room. That was so she would normally when she gets back from her trips, she can go to the gym, she can see the trainer, she can go do yoga, whatever. But when she's traveling, which is a lot, it all goes to hell. So that was a key piece for her, is navigating that away time, and then navigating that transition time when she got back home. And the first thing she wanted to do was just open up the refrigerator and start, where's the wine? Where are the snacks? She wasn't necessarily taking care of her personal relationships because of that. There were a lot of things, right? So anyway, but now she actually gave me a very nice little comment that she was talking about. She feels confident now in her body. Yes, she's dropped some. She wasn't, you know, hugely overweight, but there were at least I would say 15 stubborn pounds that were hanging on. So she was able to drop most of that, but more importantly, she gained muscle tone, which is extremely important. So she looks great in her clothes. She didn't have to buy another wardrobe. You know, she just looks better in what she had. She feels really good. She has energy. She doesn't get pooped as she's walking upstairs anymore. And she knows that she can easily navigate all of these crazy business trips that she goes on and transition well back when she gets home, just because she picked up a few, you know, things that she could do.
I think traveling is difficult. You know, I can relate to it because I traveled 40 weeks a year for about 30 years. And you know, when you travel a lot, you can upgrade to first class most of the time. And so you're eating. You only have certain choices of what happens on that plane.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get in the hotel and you're tired and you think, oh boy, a hamburger sure sounds good. Or you get up in the morning and you're in a hurry and you know you don't want to go down and sit in a restaurant. So it is hard. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think your suggestions are very good because it does give it has its own challenges.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, that was something that really I felt
Yeah.
great because she just needed some tools. She was ready.
Well, how do you help your clients level up their habits for good so that making those positive changes feels effortless?
Mm-hmm. I guess the first thing, and this is one thing uh, people give me good feedback about, is listening to them, really listening to what they have to say. And I using my intuition to kind of tune into how they're doing, how they're feeling, what they've, you know, at that time. And I can usually help them when we work together, you know, one-on-one coaching, usually help them kind of find a few things like maybe food triggers for them or behavior triggers. For some people, it's smoking. It's not food. It's more the smoking, or other things that they have going on that they would like to change. Um, anyway, just everyone is different. Everyone is an individual. And like I said, there are certain things that are true for human beings in general. If you're a human, there are some things that are true for you. And then there are a lot of things that are true specifically for that particular person and their history. And sometimes some of our habits, to be honest, our behaviors are based on things we sort of believe about food or believe about ourselves. And those things might be based on something that happened in the past, when we were a kid even. It's pretty amazing. And then you wouldn't think that some of that stuff is even related to food, but whew, you know, fast forward, it's
Yeah.
like, you know, when you can like almost hear the light bulb go off
Yeah.
on top of someone's head, like, oh yeah, I did that did I oh my gosh, that's right, that's what happened, you know. And I did believe that that was true. You know, like not letting go of grudges. Oh, that's a big one. Wow, that's a big one. Anyway, we won't get into that right now.
Do you have any special advice for women, say 50 and up, who are feeling fat and tired and old and struggling to make positive changes in their lives?
Yes, the big one is stop blaming yourself. It's not your fault. Whatever it is, it's not your fault. And so step back from all that blame and guilt that you're putting on yourself, because that just takes you down the rabbit hole and creates more anxiety. That's kind of the problem. We start thinking in these habit loops that just keep the anxiety high. and they keep us feeling kind of paralyzed and we don't know what to do. Anyway, but stop that, just stop the blame game and seek help, regardless of who it is. That's the nice thing about some people think that they can't reach out to a professional because, well, then I have to tell them all my secrets, or I don't know, it's going to cost me money. Well, the nice thing about, for example, in my practice, if people reach out to me and they've got a question or they've got an issue or they're not sure exactly what I do or how I do it, and if I can help them at all, we have a conversation. And if I'm not the right one to help them, maybe it's not time for me, maybe it's time for someone else, I can give them all kinds of resources. I can refer them to someone else or something else so that they can continue on. But it's never just like a snap your fingers, wave the magic wand, make it all go away. You know, it is a process. It is a journey. I talk a lot about people's journey, and it's just, you know, kind of moving the needle a little bit at a time, one day at a time, and just take a step. Take the step you're afraid to take. Make a phone call, send a text, you know, ask anybody for help or something like that. Read a book.
Well, that leads me to the question of, so if somebody wants to work with you, tell me two things. One, how do they contact you? And number two is, so what's the process of what you do and what you offer?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I have some short programs that almost anybody, if they go to my website or they're on my mailing, like my email list, like once a month I'm in communication. I tell them about what's happening and give a lot of information about, just free information about things having to do with health and wellness. So there's that. If they want to get on my email list, they can just contact me at juliannehealthcoach@gmail.com. I have a website. It's my name, Julianne Wutke, healthcoaching.com. And I know those will probably both be in your show notes. And the process is really as simple as, I mean, if they're not sure, because first of all, people usually are not sure. If they're kind of curious, but they're not sure, you know, what it's like to work with me or if I'm even able to help them. So initially, if someone is intrigued, curious, I will have them answer a couple of questions, just real simple, you know, about what they're experiencing. And then I'll look it over and I'll contact them and say, hey, let's have a conversation. I've got some ideas, or I would need to know more, or I think I can help you, or, you know, even if I don't know if I can, I'll get back in touch with you anyway, because I have some resources that I think you'll find helpful. So it's a win-win either way. If you're going to get in touch with me, email, phone, contact me through my website, whatever it is. If you reach out to me, I will get back to you and we'll just go from there. So, but I never try to help anybody if I don't know what's happening with them yet. That doesn't make much sense to me.
Well, Julia, it's just been so great to talk with you, and you've given us so much information. It's just been fun to share the time with you.
Oh, thanks, Nan.
So I do hope people will look at our website and your write-up, because we'll put some more information on what you can offer in that area special to us. So that's great. All right. Well, thank you for coming and being with us. And we wish you much success in what you do.
All right. Thanks, Nan. I appreciate it.